topic is AMI baking with Packer. That's over.
Yeah, so as an introduction, there's a Goldberg machine, which is pretty much the explanation and the diagram behind the whole procedure. A lot of pieces, a lot of connections, one starts another one, and so on and so on. Interesting workflow. I worked with it in the past, but not in so extensive way, because we added 2 additional steps here. Yeah, so let's see what was the purpose and what was the idea behind. So basically, we wanted to have the AMIs build image that will contain configuration component and the base dependencies, like the common tools that we are using or any ad tech related tools. That requires strange things because we are using customized tools, customized solutions on the ad tech side, but also we can leverage the AWS facilities as well. So the main purpose, let's start from the beginning, why we should actually do those EMIs. So right now we are spawning new machines with CloudFormation, and those machines are totally bare. So basically we are using the AOL template, and after that we've got bare machine, which is pretty much connected to LDAP, so you are able to SSH there. You've got spacewalk, but not all of the repositories. I will talk about that later. And that's pretty much it, nothing more. In order to have the proper component in S2S infrastructure, we need to provision it with Ansible, with our current provisioning scripts. That's a problem because of two things. First one is related with the addresses and way and with way how AWS works. So basically, if you are using auto-scaling groups, you are not able to determine under which IP your new machine will appear unless it started. So basically, after the start, we are able to attach a proper CNAME or proper domain to that instance. So that's the first thing. So we are not able to provision that easily without creating custom root 53 entries like we have them here. Is it me or the internet is really slow?
Something wrong in this room.
Okay, sorry about the router. Yeah, so basically, if we will create the new machine, after the successful spawn, we will receive a new IP, and then we will be able to create a domain name for it in the proper hosted zone. And that's a problem because you cannot do it in CloudFormation, and you need to do it manually or create some additional facilities. Like we will create Amazon Lambda instance that will register those entries. But so for now, if we will go to S2S entries, all of those entries need to be created by hand, almost all of them. So for example, this one, this one, this one, this one, and so on. That's the first problem, because in Ansible, we've got the static inventory. So we've got a list of static hosts addressed by a host name. We don't have this host name, so we need to create them manually. That's the first painful thing. Another problem is that AWS may, in any time, retire your instance. And if they will do it, you will receive a notification email, but you will have 24 hours, and after that, you need to spawn a new instance and provision it again. That's a painful process, and that's a painful problem because it does not happen as rare as in the ad tech space currently. If we will have a new machine in ad tech, that will be a huge deal because that's not an easy way. There's no easy way to get those instances. So we need to have old ones in place. And if something is wrong, for example, in RTP selector space, which is a physical instance, there is actually a technician which is replacing the fans or trying to preserve that current instance being alive. In AWS, that's not the case, so we need to be more agile, I would say. I don't like this word, but
Agile is the
yeah, agile is that. So we need to have something that reacts really quickly. And the recommended way in AWS is to spawn a new instance from Amazon Machine Image, AMI. Those images can be baked and pre-created earlier, and then you will be able to spawn a new machine with everything on the board, and that machine will boot up and you will have everything in place. That will require a couple of things to be changed on our side, but I will tell about it later. So our goal was to create those AMIs, and if we will have them, we will be able to move faster and react faster. The state of the art currently, the tool used for that is a Packer, which is another tool from HashiCorp, probably known from Vagrant, from Consul, and other tools. This tool is actually, besides Vagrant, is the oldest one, because that was created after Vagrant, if I recall correctly. So this one is really established, still not in 1.0, but that's the common case for them. It's pretty much with whistles and everything on board, because it supports almost any good and established cloud, like Amazon, like Azure, like Google, DigitalOcean, Docker also, and so on and so on. Other stuff like hypervisors, OpenStack, and so on and so on. So there's plenty of builders, plenty of support for other tools. There are also support for VirtualBox or VMware. How does it work? So basically, it splits everything into 3 pieces. So there's a command line tool, there's a builder, and there is a whole workflow that does the builder do on the actual machine. So depending on which builder we use, the workflow will be different. For our case on AWS, it looks like the following. So we are creating the new Amazon instance, EC2, in a particular subnet and with particular security groups. In our case, this is a crucial thing, because in AdTech, in AOL, everything lives in a VPC, and we've got custom subnets, custom security groups. After spawning that new instance, they attaching a new elastic block storage, so a new disk to that instance, and they are installing their data dependencies and execute our scripts. After that, they are cleaning up their tools. They are creating a snapshot from that EBS, and after that, they are converting that snapshot into an AMI, so new Amazon image. So that's the Amazon EBS way of creating. There is also a snapshot instance, which is Amazon instance, and Amazon change rule, which is the way of creating not the EBS AMIs, but the ephemeral root AMI, not ephemeral root AMIs, which is way of creating your own distro or something like that, which is not recommended for the most cases, because you don't need to have such power in order to create your own application. For example, AOL uses Amazon Chroot to create new Amazon AOL images based on the pure AMIs delivered by Amazon. Or I don't know if they are actually relying on that pure images. So we are using Amazon EBS, and that requires obviously a couple of things. First of all, we need to create our new access keys and secrets, and then we need to create and that actually those secrets needs to be connected with a profile with specific permissions. So that's a full list of those permissions. You don't have to memorize it because we created a CloudFormation for that. I will show it later. But basically, that's a pretty extensive list of requirements that are should be in place in order to Packer to work on AWS. That's the Packer side. On the Packer, we would like to leverage our existing Ansible, and that's also possible. I said something about the workflows, and actually that is something called provisioners. So we are able to mix and use many provisioners at the same time. There's a remote shell, local shell, Ansible local, remote. Difference is, as the name suggests, so basically a local shell is saving everything into one file and SCPing to the machine and executing it there. Remote shell is different, so it requires to actually SSH to that, as in the case with Ansible as well. So we are leveraging remote shells and Ansible local. Local shells and Ansible local, because we will have access to that instance as by SSH, and we rely on that. Packer will create a custom key pair for that newly created instance. In AWS, yeah, it works. So at the end, we will receive a new image here, which will have the S2S prefix or postfix. Currently, there's nothing there, but I will show everything in a minute. There are landing the key pairs. They should be cleaned up, but in case that, for example, Packer will explode, which happened to be two times, there will be obviously leftovers, so need to clean it as well. And another thing is that you will see actually a Packer EC2 instance here as well. It will start to do everything. Yeah, so moving to the meat. Currently, there is no Packer running, and there is no issue with creating multiple instances because it refers it via instance ID, not the name. Actually, all Packer builders have the same name. We are not customizing it on at Uptech side. So speaking about the code, there's a new directory in our RTB DevOps, which is Packer, and everything lives there. There's a build AMI for dev sh, which is just a wrapper for everything else. We are passing parameters like stage, AWS region, AMI ID. And those AMI IDs are actually quite important. So basically, we need to rely on AMIs that are encrypted, and we are building an encrypted AMI as well. And that's a requirement, hardware requirement from the ITsec. We need to remember about that when dealing with AOL. Then we are using subnets and security groups from this AWS region and this stage. However, this is not a public, and this is not a public subnet and not a public security group because of that comment. I don't know why in the public subnets there is no outgoing traffic on dev. I don't know why. Maybe yesterday it was blocked. But I was not able to initiate any outgoing connection from my newly created EC2.
What was the instance behind that gateway? Or
in public, no. It looked like the internet gateway for a public network was disabled.
yes,
At least
so,
from the
so the NAT gateway.
No. In public, you don't have the NAT gateway. You've got the instant gateway, internet gateway only.
Okay.
So it
But
looks.
on dev in a public network.
It doesn't work. With the private, it worked. So NAT gateway actually works.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe there's something with the routing, or they experimented and broke something. Still, not the case because it works in the private. And actually, if that works in the private, we should use private always, in my opinion, because there's less risk to exposing something. Then how is the other? So basically, this script calls another one. Calls another one, which is here, and actually that's a invocation for a Packer. I will show you later how the definition of the builder show. This is a standard bash, nothing fancy. One small thing in some Linux distributions, including mine, Packer is not called Packer, it's called Packer.io because there's a conflict. Like in the Ubuntu with the other stuff, or Docker, yeah. So stupid thing, but you need to check it and verify it. Then we are using AdTech S2S Packer region and stage profile for a Packer. And as I said, that requires creating previously a new IAM user and security keys. So if that will load, I will show you those credentials. But basically, we've got the CloudFormation. We've got CloudFormation for that. I can show you it here if it loads. Yeah, so I created a new user called AdTech S2S RTB Packer user, blah, blah, blah. Funny thing, we cannot use AOL S2S. We have to use AdTech S2S, and we will change everything later. Because there is some running scripts and bots that are relying that everything starts with AdTech dash. For example, for EABs, there's a running script which requires that all EABs should be named AdTech dash. Yeah. That's the German way of doing things. So that user has actually the just the policies, inline policy that I showed you before. So only those requirements. And then I've created a new access key, which is visible here with that ID. I copied the, actually I will show you a funny thing, but do not mention that ITsec because I will have trouble. If you are creating new security keys with CloudFormation, you will not receive security secret. You will be able only see the access key ID. And if you are not admin, you are also not allowed to show any secrets as well. So I cannot view my secrets, but somehow I found them. How? That's not a neat trick. That's actually a workaround. So basically, you can define an output which is not restricted, and you can create a Packer user access key secret and expose it from each CloudFormation template, and that will avoid round tripping with the and then back and forth with the AdTech ops. That's not a recommended way because it's.
So this is from the instance. So instance knows the secret and you expose it.
Actually, it's not that way. If you are creating that CloudFormation template is creating a new user, and for that user we are creating a new access keys.
Okay.
And if you will do this in the classic way with this hack, without this hack, you will not see the secret, only the key ID. And if you will be an admin, you will be able in that previous screen show the secret as well.
But the output is from CloudFormation.
I will show it in the actual code. Output is something called, it's like a registered variable, or rather registered constant by you. So you are able to register it by yourself.
But in which context?
In context of CloudFormation, depending on resources that you are creating. So not exactly about the not exactly in the case of instance, for example. So here is the CloudFormation template. Here we are creating user. There's a policy for that user. And here we are creating Packer uses access key for that user. And at the end, I'm able to create a new output, which is Packer user access key secret, and extract the secret and show it in the UI and register it under this name in the environment. So other CloudFormation templates can refer to that variable. Actually, can import that variable. So we've got our user in place. We've got security keys. I've copied those access keys and secret to my AWS config locally. So here, .aws, credentials, blah, blah, blah. Here is my credentials for that. So far, so good. We can spawn the Packer. So this command, so Packer build, and then we are passing a couple of variables. I will show you why this is necessary, and then path to a JSON file. And this JSON file is located in builders, but this JSON file is actually the key for building it. It's not so complicated. We'll go step by step. So it has 3 sections: variables, builders, and provisioners. In variables, you are defining which variable will be provided upfront to the script. Those variables are defined here. So subnet ID, security group IDs, foundation AMI, and so on and so on. Please beware that if you will make a typo here, it will not report unknown variable or so. That's a stupid behavior, but it works that way. Then we've got the builders, and that's the Amazon EBS that I explained previously. So we are creating an EBS, then we are snapshotting this and moving to the AMI, and registering actually as an AMI. Then we are passing AWS secrets, region, foundation AMI, which is our base for that machine, on top of which we will build our expected name. Still, we need to keep the app tag in the name. Then we are passing subnet ID and security group ID. That's important because of the VPCs and tags. Tags is also more important because there are bots that are deleting stuff based on tags. If you won't have them, you will have deleted. Your stuff will be deleted without notification. Yeah, and this encrypted true is just our way of saying that this AMI should be encrypted. Because we are basing on the encrypted AMI, it should be fine. Then we've got a list of, in this case, command shells and provisionals. And currently I'm installing here, there are a couple of things. So that piece is the most important one. That's invocation of the Ansible. So we are copying roles that I'm defining here, group variables here, and that inventory file with the playbook. We are copying everything to the machine, and then we are invoking Ansible on that machine locally.
Was it straightforward for you to set this up? Because I remember when I was playing with Packer, like I thought that, oh, so hooking up Ansible will be simple, but it took me a while to sort this out.
There's one thing that makes me trouble. I will talk about it later. That fake inventory, because we've got really our Ansible scripts are really good, but we are setting group variables in a very strange way because we are setting those based on the group names. Mm-hmm. And if you would like to have a custom IP, which is in this case 127.0.0.1 localhost, you need to create a fake inventory in order to cheat and reuse those variables. Because you will not be able to reuse every single variable. So I'm not recreating group variables, but I need to create such fake file which says that this host name is actually a local host, and it's inside this group, this group, this group, and those amount of these groups will be there will be much more of them because that's just for the simple one role. In case of RTB selector, there will be 20 or not 20, but 10, at least 10 groups here that I need to create it up front. So that was the most painful thing for setting up Ansible for me. Other than that, we need to slightly refactor our Ansible roles because we've got very fat roles with everything in place. In order to create a base AMI, then a component AMI, and the configured AMI, we need to have more granular roles and finite control.
I think we already had that partially, at least, with the common roles.
Yeah, with commons, definitely. The problem will be with the configuration and splitting configuration from components, because it's not done. It's done only for the RTB selectors, because we are rolling out configuration separately just for that part. But it's not a big deal. I actually created a task, and it is available in the backlog, so we should be able to do it. So I've skimmed over those 4 commands here because those 2 are actually a hack. And Piotr is probably remembering what it's about. This stupid AMI from AOL is actually having just one single YAM repository which contains almost nothing. And in order to, for example, in order to get the RubyDevel or RubyGem bundler, you need to use CentOS extras, which are not inside this YAM repos D, but not inside the YAM repos D active, but YAM repos D. So I need to create a set file, replace it, YAM install, and restore the old value.
What do you use Ruby for?
Yeah, that's another point. So Ruby is actually, there's no problem with Ruby on the machine because it is installed. It is required by EC2 AMI tools. But I'm using RubyDevel for server spec, which is another step. So the whole problem for me with this Packer thing is that it's horribly expensive and it takes a lot of time to test.
And that was my main pain point when I was playing with Ansible. Like every time I wanted, to change some Ansible provisioning, I had to run the whole Packer thing again. There was no easy way to set up an instance and run Packer, like just run me this from this point. Like I don't want to create the instance, just try Ansible once more.
I found one way to actually having a workaround for that. So there is a debug mode in Packer. You are able to enable debug mode, and then it pauses after each step.
Mm-hmm.
So you are able to actually
log into the instance.
Log into SSH to the instance, but it's a workaround. It's not as good as having the Ansible couple of rounds of Ansible on that Packer. Yeah, definitely. But Ruby was required for the server spec, and server spec is a way of testing those images and verifying that everything is in place and everything has proper permissions. We've got all files there, and so on and so on. So kind of a testing tool for infrastructure. Then this is also required because the AdTech guys are not cleaning up after themselves, and our AMI that I'm picking up has this Packer provision blah 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 directory, and Packer explodes after that because he's not able to copy on the overdone directory because it exists. So you need to clean it up first before everything. Then IAM complete tests and invoke another bash script. Then I'm cleaning up after myself, so I'm removing RubyDevel and bundler and cleaning up my provisioner stuff locally. So speaking about the tests, I wanted to have a quick way of verifying that every single round is actually having what I wanted. And it turned out that there is a server spec framework written in Ruby, which is available, and it has pretty nice assertions and way of verifying everything, but it requires Ruby and bundler and so on. So I needed to bootstrap everything and actually bootstrap that on the Amazon image.
So I just really like how you injected server spec, as implicit dependency. Like we wanted to have it in for so long, and yes.
Yeah, actually, I would. This is so nice to have that I would like to have it for Ansible for regular roles
Exactly. Yes.
because it's easier to test it.
Mm.
So that script is actually bootstrapping everything, so installing dependencies for Ruby and for server spec, and then in the execs the rake, which is the build tool. This rake is executing the server spec and the RSpec testing tool. That's why it's so ugly. Another point is that there's a problem with RSpec and server spec because without actually showing where you should look into the Ruby files, he's not able to defining it because server spec requires very strict directory schema, which is the following. So you need to have spec, then you need to have a name of the server, and then you need to have tests. And RSpec is actually not picking up those tests because they are too too deep into the directory tree, and that's why you need to create this custom ugly stuff. But after that, it works, and you can create those lovely tests. So it's actually a BDD for infrastructure, I would say. So I'm expecting that this file will be present. I can add to here additional requirements like should have executable permissions, should have other stuff. I can verify that particular services are running, particular ports are opened, and so on and so on. So after that run, you will be able, and creating, of course, the tests and running them, you should be sure that the AMI is working fine. So we can include here checks like, I don't know, curling to a stats page and checking the IPDB version or other stuff. So it should be pretty straightforward to do.
We actually like this thing you mentioned. Like we already include parts of the server spec in our
Yeah. That's a good fair point. Actually, we already have this thing partially, as you said. Yeah. So showing how everything works. Unfortunately, Packer is a Go tool written in Golang, so I cannot add it to our virtual environment. So you need to install it separately in your environment. It should be straightforward on macOS because it's in Brew.
Yeah, Brew Packer.
Yeah, in Arch Linux, it was also straightforward besides the naming. Yeah, but working and showing how it works. I need to do one. Actually, I don't need to do that thing. So, Packer. Yeah, so that command should create, summing up, this command should create an EC2 instance, then it will SSH there, install everything, then it will provision it, install test dependencies, invoke tests, and roll back everything with registering a new AMI. So we will see it here, and we should see it also in the AWS console as an example. So right now it shows us that he will pick up this AMI in this region. Yeah, it found it. It created a new instance ID. So we are going to EC2 management, and we will see if that instance is actually, this instance is actually creating, so 09B0. Yeah, this one. So we are right now waiting for that instance to be ready. It's spawned up, waiting for SSH. In case that we would like to debug something, you need to add only the -debug command line argument. And after each step, it will ask you, should I go next? Should I go to the next step? And so on and so on. So in this case, you will be able to SSH there because in debug mode, it also drops those temporal keys in that directory. So you will have a separate file that you will be able to use as a key pair for SSH. This step is actually is the longest one because it waits for EC2 health checks.
And regarding key management, the whole thing like works only because we rely on the LDAP, right? That the base AMI provided by Aztec has.
Not at all. So not at all.
I mean, not here, not here. I mean, after the instance.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So everything we are basing on Aztec AMI, which already has the LDAP, as you said. Yeah, definitely.
Because normally you would need to have like a step here, the provisioning step, which embeds like
Authorized keys, yes.
and,
Mhm.
Yeah.
There is a facility in Packer to do that actually out of the box. So you are able to create just a line, authorize those keys. And
Yeah.
How do we?
Usually you just have a repo with like authorized keys.
Yes.
And you have to commit a new key there. Yeah. Okay. So nothing changed.
How do we generate host names with this number? Think maybe 001, 002.
we will not actually. So there will be no numbers.
It is just confusing. Like, you know, if the instance goes, it's just explain.
Yeah, like there will be a hole because some
hole-
instance disappeared.
Yeah, whole is one case, but if imagine the case that guys that are complaining on Datadog already had. So imagine that one host is marked as a 001, it goes down, and new host will appear in the meantime, and it hijacks the IP. And you will have different hosts with the same 001 host name. And actually, we would like to have something like this. So maybe we will go with the instance IDs and extract the alphanumeric part
Yes,
after
yeah.
the I dash.
Either that or just have some random
Yeah.
random words. Like I like this, you know, way of, you know, how Elasticsearch generates
Crazy half
names.
That would be lovely, but there is this stupid 64 character system delimitation that we need to be aware of. And we already have a lot of the postfix in the
I know, yeah.
Aztec AOL CloudNet.
But just imagine, you know, like a log message that, you know, your RTB selector fat whale just, you know, crashed or
Yeah,
investigating.
that would be lovely.
So how the deployment will look like? We will bake a new AMI
Yeah,
and just replace it.
yeah.
Everything.
For each new version, you have to take the
Yes.
Yeah, and idea was to create those stage approach.
So no more checking if correct version is.
Yeah, that's one thing, and hopefully, because mistakes can happen. And another point with what you've mentioned. So the stage approach helps us with the building step, because if we will have first the stage, which is the base one, and that it will contain only the common parts. Then we will have component which will contain only Erlang cluster, but without configuration yet. After switching configuration, we need to rebake only the last step. So we will be able to reuse the same version of RTB selector, but with different configuration. Ideally, it will split roles and everything.
This will be a lot of AMIs. Like
Yes, we already have a lot of them.
Yeah, but this is expected.
Docker
Like, this is the AWS way. Like, you
Yes.
just generate like a ton of those AMIs, and
So,
they just.
Currently, we've got the 81 AMIs in just that one region.
So we won't
Have any limits?
Yes, exactly. So
Limits
this,
are
like, you can do
on top.
cleanups. You just keep the newest ones, maybe a few versions back, just, you know, for the rollback purposes, and yeah, but
Yeah,
you treat AMI as an artifact. Like, you operate also AMI.
Actually, that's cool because, you know, going back to older version.
Yes. Yes, and the assumption is also that, you know, you bake AMI and you give it to QAs, so you don't build the separate QA instance. They just take exactly this AMI, they test on it, and you roll out the same thing without any, don't touch it. So
yeah, that could be another point. So gods of the demos are actually angry on me and this Wi-Fi broke the demo. I will try to do it again, but that's another point. If you got the habit of killing everything after the first mistake, you will lose that habit with Packer, because if you will go with Control C here, you will actually not clean up after yourself. So you need to wait after everything will happen.
One more question regarding deployment. How does it look like replacing MAI?
That's another good and extensive
Do we
topic.
create another, I don't know, load balancer with MAI and then just switch, or
Yeah, so
some kind of rolling update?
there are two ways, and desired one will be to have this rolling stage rollout, as you mentioned. So basically, it looks like this: you are providing new AMI to an auto-scaling group, and you are saying you are allowed to change my instances, each one after one, and with two at once. So we are able to switch two instances in the same time, and you need to wait that they are running properly after that.
So auto-scaling group is responsible for that?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the desired step. However, we don't know if that will work for us because of the connection draining, because of the other stuff that maybe will be not applicable in our case. And then we will create a new ELB, new auto-scaling group, and we will replace them behind the Route 53 CA. That's the painful bit, because you need
This is
to.
the Adcom way.
Yes, I know, and
Losers.
we need to actually do a different thing, and maybe the API gateway will be the way to do it, as David suggested. But that will work only for the HTTP traffic.
But I remember we had like. What is the problem here? We do a rollout, and we can. You are worried about the connection draining.
So there are a couple of things. So basically, ELB is one big hole of surprises.
Yes, but you take this when you roll out to an instance, you take it out of the ELB first.
Yeah, but in order to take it out, you need to wait for all connections to drain. Yeah, that's the way it works actually. So if you are manually removing it, that's okay.
Yeah.
It will kill out connections and do the resets. But in the stage rollout,
But you mark it to
Yeah.
once, and then so it won't accept any new connections.
But if they use Keep Alive like Adcom,
yeah, exactly. That's the most problem.
Okay. Yes.
they probably will use it.
Okay.
Could you just
Is there an option to signal, to the send something, to invoke a script, or like signal to the application layer that there?
That could be an option. And Michal already, actually Michal maybe has an idea.
could you just switch ASG group for ALB?
Actually,
And
I
register-
wanted you to ask about it, because I didn't check it, and I heard that it is possible, but I don't know any details.
To switch what?
ASGs.
From what I've read about this, you can do this, and you remove one more problem with this, because you need to warm up the ELB before you run the traffic.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it will not be scaled if you start the new one. And then I don't know how you are doing it right now, but from what I've read, this is how you do it. You attach the new ASG group, and then you, when you know that everything is working for the new one.
What will happen to connections? They will be migrated or what?
Yeah, you need
I'm
to.
sure.
Yeah, you need to. So, Michal, do you know what happens with the connections? In that case, you are migrating them from old one to a new one.
I don't know the details, honestly, but this is the way the people are doing it. So probably there is a solution there must be a solution for canceling the connections and waiting them to stop. Or there should be.
With this ELB. I'm worried that it might behave in an unexpected way.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point.
The worst possible.
And actually behaves like the worst possible combination. Yeah, so as I said, the demo gods are not liking me. Machine is running and waiting for the SSH.
I can
I
trust
think
you.
we might want a second, maybe Wi-Fi here, second network.
Always access points.
Yeah, like we have access point, we don't hear like
Yeah,
empty space
just a
underscore.
small, just a small one. Yeah.
Yeah, time outed. So after that, you will see, maybe I've got it in history. Yeah, I've got it actually in history. So basically, you will see this. It will go and invoke my shell scripts, install Ansible, Ruby Gems, Ruby Devil, Ruby Bundler. You will see the YAM output. Then it will invoke another script. Then it will invoke Ansible. You will see the Ansible output here. I just use this random, not random, but well-defined host name, which will be not used in production, but in order to change the host name to something viable, I need to set up the host name, inventory host name in the Ansible. Here we've got the 7 steps for the Ansible. Then you are installing the dependencies for the server spec here. And after that, you are invoking server spec, which shows you the results here. So you are seeing that file, blah, 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 should be file, blah, 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 should be file. Finished in, for example, 0 failures, that's fine. Then we are cleaning up. And after that, it stops the instance, then creates the AMI, and register EMI with new ID, tags it properly, and cleans everything else. And that's it. So that would be all. Any questions?
No. There is no technical.
We also want to like invoke this via Ansible, right? Yeah,
Jenkins.
Jenkins. At the end, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
So I suppose we can reuse Ansible Jenkins and our JDSL.
Yeah, the only requirement will be to install Packer. That's the only thing.
Okay, no issues whatsoever.
Packer, AWS CLI, which is already in place.
It's already there.
Yeah, and that should be it.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, thanks, Wojtek. I think we can end the technical part.
Just in time.